Part 18. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 175. The second watch arrives. I am not the son of a bed patient, but the son-in-law. Moving the chair and blanket to the nurse's table, and throwing such a sentence at the two nurses, Zhou Mikang turned and went back to the ward. With his hearing strength, how could he not hear the two nurses giggling and muttering clearly? Is he his son Jingzhe or his son-in-law? Snored. Surely that brat Jingzhe did it on purpose, trying to take advantage of him. There are no doors. The head of the group, Tongzi, was relieved to explain clearly. The two nurses were stunned for a while, and when they came back to their senses, they wished they could get under the nurse's desk. Girls in this era are tender-skinned, even if they want to marry a good family, even if they have a crush on someone, it is impossible for them to go on a rampage like some women in later generations. Of course, there may be girls like that. Anyway, Xiao Yan and Zhang Ming are neither. They are now sitting hunched over behind the nurse's desk, not daring to speak loudly, for fear that if they say anything, they will be ashamed and thrown to grandma's house. Lin Baohe, who had been pretending to be asleep, suddenly opened his eyes, smiled at Zhou Mikang, and then closed his eyes again, which made Zhou Mikang blush. When he calmed down and wanted to say something, he found that the other party had already fallen asleep breathing evenly, scratching his head. He couldn't help shaking his head amusedly. This old man is really interesting. I didn't see Chu Xia when we were parting, and I didn't know anyone when I came to the new place. There were even many girls who looked at her with hostile eyes. She started to suffer from insomnia for the second night. Hearing that Xiao Miao's breathing was getting heavier, she quietly got out of bed. He walked out of the dormitory lightly with his shoes on. She lives in the staff dormitory of 401. There are 2-person rooms, 4-person rooms, and 8-person rooms, and those with families live in another building. What is it like to live in a city? She doesn't know, but now, she is not in the mood to study what she doesn't know, because she just feels unhappy in this strange environment. After leaving the corridor, a gust of cold wind gushed into her neck, and she unconsciously tightened her collar. Looking at the empty space in front of her, she became even more bewildered. Although both Chu Xia and Lu Meijun listed some benefits for her earlier, she herself recognized those benefits, but at this moment, it was difficult for her to truly integrate into her current identity, and all she could think about was returning to her friends. But also know that it is impossible. Thinking about it, I feel quite unsatisfied. Although she has only been here for a day, Xiao Miao has roughly introduced her to 401. To be able to get such a position with her status is really a dream come true. Otherwise, why do some girls look at her badly? How many people desperately want to be Dean Su's assistant, but she just doesn't let go. Unexpectedly, a recruit who doesn't know anything like her is brought over. If people convinced her. That's weird. Xiao Miao also said that this is the military hospital, if it is local. With her status, even if the dean wants to promote her, it's impossible. So many favorable conditions. If she really became a deserter, everyone would definitely feel that she was kicked in the head by a donkey. Well, she doesn't mind people saying that her brain was kicked by a donkey. The point is, she can't make things difficult for Dean Su. According to Ziokai, when Dean Su made appointments for her, many people made sarcastic remarks behind her back. If she really became a deserter, she would be too sorry for Dean Su. Therefore, not only can she not be a deserter, but she must also make achievements and give Dean Su a face. However, she really felt uncomfortable and lonely. Thinking wildly, she actually walked to the inpatient department. Here, the lights are bright, giving her a sense of security. Standing in the yard and taking a long breath, the peculiar smell of disinfectant in the air made her slightly uncomfortable, or, when she got used to the smell, She would also get used to this job, right? Quietly squeezed her fist, and wanted to turn around to go back, but found that the figure standing under the porch in the distance was somewhat familiar. Thinking about it, she shook her head amusingly. How could it be possible? The second uncle and the second aunt have gone back today. How could they appear in the hospital? After walking a few steps, she couldn't help but look back again. This time, she could see clearly. The light was shining on that person's face. Who was it? Not Zhao Yulan. Without thinking too much, Luo Xiaoxian rushed over. Auntie, why are you here? For a moment, Zhao Yulan saw the person in front of her clearly, and she was surprised. Maying. She realized her mistake as soon as she said the words, and quickly corrected her. Xiaoxian, why are you here so late? I've already been transferred here. Aunt, what's the matter with you? Uncle. He's sick? Does Chu Xia know? Is she here too? Luo Xiaoxian pulled Zhao Yulan's arm and asked a series of questions anxiously. Don't worry, good boy, don't worry, your uncle is not a serious problem, just stay in the hospital for a few days and you'll be fine. Chu Xia knows about it, but she's not here. Zhao Yulan answered Luo Xiaoxian's questions one by one, and then he touched her head happily. Your mother and your father know that you are so promising, maybe they are so happy. What's wrong with uncle? Luo Xiaoxian looked at Zhao Yulan worriedly. Aunt, you didn't lie to me, did you? Chu Xia really knows, right? You can't lie to her, or she will blame you. Zhao Yulan smiled helplessly. This child, why don't you believe in my aunt? What your uncle got is necrosis of the femoral head, but it's only in its early stages, and it hasn't died yet. As long as a small surgery is done to drill a hole and put medicine on it, it will be cured. He recovered slowly, but he was not allowed to do heavy work for half a year. Oh, Luo Xiaoxian sighed heavily, and repeated the question just now. Chu Xia really knows. Really, it was me and your uncle who drove her back. She is serving as a medical soldier. If she keeps delaying so much, how can she do it? Your uncle is not seriously ill, and I am enough. As he said, Zhao Yulan lowered her voice. Tuanzhang is staying with me on the bed, he drove me to bed. Alas, how can I sleep? Sneaked over to take a look at your uncle, and was afraid that Captain Zhou would see him, so he hurried away. If he didn't go back, he still couldn't sleep, so he thought about going out for a walk, and when he came out, he was afraid that he would get lost and couldn't go back, so he was just thinking about it here. Well, you just came here, he. After speaking, Zhao Yulan smiled embarrassedly. You know that my aunt doesn't know the way. Yeah, Luo Xiaoxian also laughed. She heard her mother tell about this. When Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe first got married, they went back to their mother's house on their own. In the evening, Lin Baohe returned home from work, and waited and waited. They greeted them all the way, and they didn't see Zhao Yulan until Xiaolin village. They went to ask Chu Xia's grandma and grandpa, and said that Zhao Yulan left after dark. This time, everyone was terrified. Zhao Yushan went to the village to call on the villagers on the big loudspeaker to help him search for them. He worked until midnight, and finally found Guo'er village, which is 10 miles away from Xiaolin village and 15 miles away from Dalin village. Found Zhao Yulan. Zhao Yulan, who didn't remember the way at first, didn't remember the way when it got dark. As a result, she became more and more confused, and she was afraid of encountering bad people when she asked about it. In the end, that's the result. Now that she came to this unfamiliar city, it would be weird if Zhao Yulan could remember the way. However, what Luo Xiaoxian was curious about was not this, but the fact that the head of the group, Tongzi, was accompanying her in bed. And, you said that Captain Zhou is accompanying the bed. Luo Xiaoxian's eyes widened curiously. Yeah, when it was dark, he ran over and drove me to sleep, saying he was watching. Your uncle has a problem, he will have an operation tomorrow, and he doesn't need to stay in bed today at all, alas, I. After a pause, Zhao Yulan looked displeased. She said embarrassingly, I looked at him, I was full of words and didn't know what to say, so I just listened to him. The head of the group has a domineering character. Luo Xiaoxian nodded in agreement, and then dragged Zhao Yulan into the yard. I can't sleep anyway, so I'll accompany my aunt around, I'll remember the way. Can't sleep in a new place? Zhao Yulan asked. It's not just this. I don't know each other when I come here, and most of them are from the city. I can't talk to them, so I feel that I don't feel comfortable with Chu Xia and them. In Luo Xiaoxian's eyes, they were mixed with Chu Xia when they were young. Zhao Yulan was no different from her mother, so she didn't hide the troubles in her heart from her. Oh, Zhao Yulan sighed, and looked at Luo Xiaoxian worriedly. Xiaoxian, I understand how you feel in your heart, it's similar to how I felt when I first married in Dalan village, but at that time I still knew you. Your uncle, alas, you are more difficult than your aunt. But Xiaoxian, you have been a capable child since you were young. My aunt has never seen the big world, but I know that it is not easy for you to come out. What happened to you is even more difficult. My aunt thinks, you can definitely do well. And, Luo Xiaoxian nodded solemnly, Auntie, I'm just complaining to you, I know, no matter how hard it is for such a good thing, I have to endure it. My elder brother's temper and also knows that it is very difficult to point him to success, and my mother is very strong-tempered. If Aunt Zhong said something nasty at that time, wouldn't she die of anger? If I do a good job and am better than Zhong Hongying, Mrs. Zhong will not dare to say anything about my mother, and then she will not be angry with my mother. It's your mother's blessing to raise you as a girl. Auntie, don't just praise me, Chu Xia is getting more and more capable, I can't believe it now, she is that stubborn girl who grew up with me. Speaking of her daughter, the corners of Zhao Yulan's mouth turned up unconsciously. Other people's daughters are good, but her own daughter is even better. She and Lin Baohe are this kind of parents, no one's children are better than their children. Seeing that it was not early, Zhao Yulan pushed Luo Xiaoxian, don't delay going to work tomorrow, go back and rest. Your uncle and I have to stay here for a few days, you are fine after work, go to the ward to find us. Luo Xiaoxian nodded cheerfully, okay, I'll take my aunt back. After talking to Zhao Yulan, she felt much more comfortable. Besides, thinking that she could see Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan these days, she felt confident up. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 176. As soon as it arrives. Entering the entrance of the hospital lobby, Luo Xiaoxian tugged at Zhao Yulan's arm, and looked at her eagerly, Auntie, I want to go and see uncle, so I can leave without waking him up. Zhao Yulan smiled helplessly, you child, hey. Hey. Knowing that her thoughts were seen through, Luo Xiaoxian smiled embarrassedly, it's not that I don't believe what Auntie said, but I just want to see uncle's heart to be at ease. Zhao Yulan patted her head fondly, if your uncle hears your words, he won't know how happy he will be. Aunt and uncle are no different from my mother and father, Luo Xiaoxian said, pulling Zhao Yulan's arm tightly against her body. When I was young, I spent a lot of time at my aunt's house, even if I was beaten by my mother, I also insist on staying at my aunt's house to eat, because I think the food made by my aunt is better than that made by my mother, haha. Zhao Yulan's eyes quickly filled with a gentle smile, Chu Xia often went to your house to pick up food. The children did this when they were young. Not to mention you, my aunt also thought that other people's food was delicious when she was young. Really, Luo Xiaoxian looked at Zhao Yulan with sparkling eyes, Auntie, when you were young, did you have sisters who were particularly close? A lot of words are like me and Chu Xia, are there any? Don't jump character. Zhao Yulan nodded, well, there is also a sister who grew up with me who is so close that I wish I could wear a pair of pants. At that time, she was closer than my eldest sister and my mother. And later, after each of them got married, they gradually lost contact. Zhao Yulan sighed quietly. That's how women are. No matter how good the relationship is, it will fade away after they get married. Chu Xia and I won't, we will be good sisters for a lifetime. We will definitely not break contact, Luo Xiaoxing said firmly. Zhao Yulan rubbed her head amusedly. Silly child. What I said is true. Luo Xiaoxing stared at Zhao Yulan solemnly. "And, you don't believe what I said? I can bet Aunt that we will be together forever. After you get married, you will be Chu Xia's sister-in-law. If you want to break off contact, you can't. You are a silly child." Yes, Luo Xiaoxing smiled embarrassedly. "I didn't expect that, he. Not only will the two of you not lose contact, but you will also be dependent for the rest of your life. After getting married in early summer, you are appointed to stay here. According to the situation between you and Qi Liang, 10 out of 10 have stayed here too. I can't take care of your uncle, your father, and your mother even if we are far away from each other. From now on, we will have to rely on you little ones to help each other." Luo Xiaoxing nodded solemnly. "Auntie, we will, don't worry, I'm here. What wronged Chu Xia? I will risk my life to find it for her." Zhao Yulan suddenly regretted what she just said. She knows that marriage is not easy, but what do these little girls know? If Luo Xiaoxing really told her so, she would help vent her anger when Chu Xia was wronged. Isn't that getting more and more chaotic? However, she can't hurt Xiao's heart by splashing water when she speaks out. I also feel it from the heart. It is a blessing for my daughter to have such a friend in her previous life. She can't be ruined. Seeing Zhao Yulan's face turn cloudy and sunny, Luo Xiaoxing thought about it. After realizing it, she quickly expressed her position with a smile. "Auntie, don't worry, I will only help her when Chu Xia is wronged or bullied. If the young couple have some small conflicts or something, I will definitely persuade them to get along or not." He Zhao Yulan smiled embarrassedly. "Xiaoxing, you have really grown up. Of course, you're 19 in a blink of an eye, haven't you grown up? Don't skip words." Zhao Yulan praised. "You child is more sensible than your brother." Luo Xiaoxing sighed softly. "Auntie, I am just worried about my brother now. Others are busy reviewing for the military academy exam, but he is busy writing letters to Zhong Hongying. Auntie went back and talked to my mother. Come here too and try to persuade my brother, otherwise, his life will probably be ruined by Zhong Hongying." "Who can persuade your brother's stubborn temper?" Zhao Yulan thought for a while, and then said, "You don't need to rush this matter. After Zhong Hongying's military inspection is over, it's not too late to think about it." "That's right. If Zhong Hongying is selected, I will definitely ignore my brother. At that time, my brother will shave his head and get hot. I don't think he can last long. When he fades away from Zhong Hongying, I will ask my mother to find him another one daughter-in-law. It's better than anything else to go back and live a down-to-earth life." Zhao Yulan shook her head amusedly. "You're not very big, so you have plans, but if you let your brother know that you said that about him, he won't be able to talk to you for a month. And, you also know my brother is narrow-minded, right?" A lot of words. Luo Xiaoxing rolled her eyes and lowered her voice. "And, tell the truth, when you said that my brother and Chu Xia were engaged, you were actually very dissatisfied in your heart, my brothers, but, there's no other way, is there?" Zhao Yulan, who was told her thoughts, looked helpless. "This child." "Auntie, it's nothing, just my brother's temper, let alone you. I think he is not good enough for Chu Xia. If you don't believe me, ask Chu Xia, I'm trying to persuade her to think about it. My brother, he looks big and thick, but he has a heart, he really doesn't match his appearance, huh?" Luo Xiaoxing slapped his forehead fiercely. "So Zhong Hongying married my brother, and my brother seems to be doing well, right, auntie?" Zhao Yulan sighed softly. "Hunky is stubborn, and it is easy to turn a corner when you are sure about it. Hong Ying is also a capable and good boy, but he is too refined. I think it will be difficult to feel at ease when I am really with your brother. Luo Xiaoxian nodded in agreement. My brother can't get what she wants at all, let alone let her live the life she wants. If she can't get married and marry my brother, there is really no way to say in the future. Alas, if I didn't feel sorry for my parents, I wouldn't bother to care about my brother's mess. Forget it, anyway, it's not something that can be solved immediately. I'll think about it again. It's okay to go back, then Zhong Hongying will give up, and everyone will not have to worry about it. Xiao Qian, we can't do this. Zhao Yulan's face became serious. No matter how inappropriate your brother and Zhong Hongying are together, you can't mess up your brother's military service. Have you ever thought about it? If your brother goes back now, what will people say about him? Yes, you don't have to worry about Zhong Hongying, but your parents must be more annoying than this. Whose daughter would marry a man who was sent back after being a soldier for a few months? Why didn't I think of this? Luo Xiaoxian patted her forehead angrily. Forget it, let's ignore his nonsense. But auntie, you must remember that I told my parents that everyone was admitted to the military academy when you go back. Okay, I'll talk to your parents. Zhao Yulan glanced at the time. Auntie has to stay here for a few days. We'll discuss this matter another day. Right now, go and see your uncle, and hurry up, go back to sleep. Luo Xiaoxian also knew that this matter was not something that could be discussed in a short while, so she obediently took Zhao Yulan's arm and walked towards the inpatient area. After the morning exercises, Zhenmei announced that she would train in the morning and study in the afternoon. As soon as she finished speaking, someone asked loudly whether Jingzhe was going to be transferred back to 401. After all, they are medical soldiers, and what they care more about is not training, but culture class. Teacher Jing will stay in Division A for about a month, and won't leave for the time being. Hearing Zhenmei's answer, many people felt relieved. According to the original plan, Jingzhe would substitute for 1 month's class, and another doctor would be in charge of the next month's class. After confirming that Jingzhe would not leave, everyone was thankful that they didn't have to face the exam results that day. The ostrich policy, delaying every day is a day, as if they always have the feeling of a chance. Oops. Zhenmei glanced around and said loudly, Wu Jingbo, come out. Yes. After the clear voice, a female soldier with a pale and calm face came out of the line, came to Zhenmei, saluted her, then turned to salute everyone. Hello, everyone. I am Wu Jingbo, who has just been selected into the women's medical team. I am 19 years old. I will train and study with you in the days to come. Please help me a lot. After a very official introduction, there was a very official applause. I also need to add that Wu Jingbo was born in a family of Chinese medicine. Unlike everyone who has zero knowledge, she has a deep knowledge of Chinese medicine. Interested students can ask her for advice in private. After Zhenmei finished speaking, Wu Jingbo smiled at everyone. Before I came here, I had already obtained my grandfather's permission to discuss with comrades who are interested in Chinese medicine. Someone in the audience couldn't help bursting into laughter, and then raised their hands. Captain Zheng, Chinese medicine is a feudal superstition. I don't learn feudal superstition. Wu Jingbo's snow-white face was slightly flushed. If you don't learn, no one will force you to learn, Zhenmei yelled in a bad tone, and waved her hands in boredom. Disband, everyone hurry up and go to eat, and we will gather for training in an hour. Chu Xia didn't quite understand her annoyance, but she didn't want to ask rashly, so she went to the cafeteria with Lu Meijun with her mind full of lawsuits. Before the two of them had eaten and sat down with their chopsticks, 2 eggs quickly appeared in front of them. Before they could recover, the figure handing the eggs had already rushed out of the dining room. Chu Xia wanted to call him to stop, thinking that if she really did that in this day and age, she would not know how people would talk about her, so she sighed and stared at the 2 eggs worryingly. It was Wang Chuang who was rescued by her last time who passed the eggs. During this time, as long as she appeared in the dining hall, he would definitely give her something delicious. Now, the rumors about her and Wang Chuang everywhere. Of course, it didn't sound too bad, just saying that she saved him and he fell in love with her. What would happen if the group leader's Heisei heard the rumors? With his bad temper, he doesn't know what to do to her. To be continued for mobile phone users, please go to M to read. Chapter 172 Worried. Chapter 172 Worried *. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 177. The second watch arrives. Alas, I can finally roll off to sleep. My body is very uncomfortable. If I didn't promise everyone, I really couldn't bear it. What are you thinking? I don't talk to you when I talk to you. Lu Meijun poked Chu Xia's arm with chopsticks, and looked her up and down. I said you are really interested in him, right? Where do you want to go? Eat. Chu Xia glared at Lu Meijun, lowered his head and started to eat, and couldn't help but secretly despise himself. Why did he remember the attitude of that domineering guy? Alas, maybe she really has a penchant for masochism, and no one picked on her, but she conceived it here herself. That's right, with Dr. Jing in comparison, how could you have a crush on him? Lu Meijun muttered in a low voice, and began to shove porridge into her mouth. At this time, Zhang Erniu came to the two of them with a lunch box, and smiled awkwardly. I will eat with you, okay. Sit down. Lu Meijun moved in, and said suspiciously, didn't you come here a long time ago? Why are you ordering food now? I'm going to the latrine. Zhang Erniu smiled embarrassingly. I want to wait for you to come, I can't hold back anymore, so I will go to the latrine first. No wonder I saw her running away as soon as we broke up. I thought she was hungry, but it turned out to be the case. Chu Xia tried her best to suppress the discomfort in her stomach, put down her chopsticks, and took a deep breath. She is most afraid that people will talk about such topics when she is eating. This kind of problem is definitely not something that can be changed just by thinking about it. In this era, she has tried to force herself to get rid of this problem more than once. Unfortunately, it didn't work at all. Lu Meijun looked at Chu Xia suspiciously. What's wrong? Chu Xia put the leftover buns into the lunchbox and buckled them up. He also buckled the lunchbox containing the porridge. I'm not very hungry now, you eat slowly. I'll go back to the dormitory first. Ordinarily, maybe she could bear to finish the porridge again, but today, her father had an operation, and she was really panicked, so she didn't want to sit here and suffer. Zhang Erniu covered her forehead fiercely, and looked at Lu Meijun annoyedly. I see, I didn't eat enough in Chu Xia, I made a mistake. Hey, Lu Meijun sighed slightly. He stroked Zhang Erniu's shoulder. Eat, she won't blame you, and you should pay more attention in the future. Zhang Erniu's reply was drowned out by Chu Xia's screams. She and Lu Meijun went back together. It happened that Chu Xia kicked her hind legs a few steps and sat down on the ground, and opposite Chu Xia stood a strong girl. They all knew her. She was Li Shuolai from the Female Soldier Company, and she was seconded to the female medical team for emergency treatment last time. The two got up together and wanted to help Chu Xia. But there was someone who acted one step earlier than them, and it was Sun Shangmei. Why are you pushing her? Is she pushing against you? Fu Chuxia helped her pat the dirt on her body. Sun Shangmei questioned Li Shuolai in displeasure. Be careful when you walk, you are here to serve as a soldier, not to be Miss Xiao. Li Shuolai snorted coldly, and dropped those words. Turn around and walk out. Stop. The soldiers who were still in the dining room looked at Chu Xia curiously. They really couldn't imagine that this thin girl could make such a loud noise. It seemed that she was really angry. But it's also true, whoever is left alone will not feel happy being pushed down in public. What right do you have to teach me? Just because you are a veteran, Chu Xia stared at her angrily. Is it because I can't walk well or you can't walk well? Li Shuolai pointed to the porridge soup on her body. This is the proof. How about I sprinkle some on you too? Chu Xia rolled her eyes speechlessly. If you don't suddenly get in front of me and stop suddenly, will I bump into you? You clearly did it on purpose, and now you are still beating me up, because you are strong, tall, and physically strong, so you can bully others. Why did I bully you? Li Shuolai looked at her intently. Okay, I'll tell you clearly. Indeed, I deliberately came in front of you, let you bump into me, and pushed you down on purpose. Coax. There was a chaotic discussion at the scene. The two were not on the same team, and they had never heard of any enmity. This move was really confusing. I said before, you are here to serve as a soldier, not to be a young lady, isn't it just her? Li Shuolai pointed to Zhang Erniu. Didn't she just say that she went to the latrine? Why don't you eat it? Disgustingly, not going to eat? Just like you, if you are asked to take care of the sick, you will not starve to death. Whether I'm right or wrong, you don't have the right to push me to the ground. Chu Xia stared at her and snorted coldly. Apologize to me, today's matter can pass like this, otherwise, all consequences will be at your own risk. You should thank me, I'm helping you correct your mistakes, so that you can become a qualified medical soldier in the future. Li Shuolai's face is taken for granted. Chu Xia really wants to scratch her two paws on her face, and even her paws are indeed ready to move now, but, just her small body and the other party's big body, while hesitating, Sun Changmei she slammed into Li Shuolai fiercely. Unprepared, Li Shuolai was knocked to the ground by her. It was worse than Chu Xia just now. Chu Xia was sitting on the ground anyway, but she was slipped by the porridge spilled under her feet, and fell directly to the ground. As for what kind of thrills they experienced during the process, everyone didn't understand it. Anyway, they watched Li Shuolai yelling, waving her claws, and lying on the ground straight like a cannonball. Do you think you can bully the members of the medical team? Sun Changmei snorted coldly. It's all over now. He turned to help Shuxia. Let's go back to the dormitory. Surprised and stunned, Lu Meijun and Zhang Erniu quickly closed their lunch boxes and followed them outside. Stop! Stop for me if you two have the guts. Li Shuolai got up and yelled from behind with her hips akimbo, but unfortunately, Chu Xia and Sun Changmei ignored her and rushed out of the cafeteria, leaving her yells to echo in the canteen. It's not that Li Shuolai doesn't want to catch up, it's because she fell too hard just now, and she didn't dare to move because of her hip pain. Sun Changmei is a strong laborer who has persisted in labor for a long time. It would be good if she broke a bone. On the way back, Chu Xia had mixed feelings in her heart. She never expected that Sun Changmei would beat someone up because of her. In her impression, Sun Changmei cared about honor very much. Fighting in the dining hall is not something to be proud of, is it? At this moment, Chu Xia was even thinking about finding some gold stickers for this matter, but finally found that a fight is a fight, and no gold stickers are useful. It hurts you thinking about being so silent and embarrassed. Chu Xia raised her eyes to look at Sun Changmei with a tiger face, and apologized to her. Don't say that you are from the hunky commune when you go out in the future. The hunky commune is not as cowardly as you, and has been bullied like that. If you don't fight back, you will be mad at me. Chu Xia. Wasn't she pondering over the issue of disparity in strength, so she didn't have time to do it? What's the trouble? If you really leave like that today, our medical team will lose all face. The female soldiers have always looked down on the medical team and think that our people are weak. Humph, I'll let them see, who is so weak. It dawned on Chu Xia that she had found the wrong direction for posting gold just now. The point is that she and Sun Shangmei are not in the same brain circuit. Could it be that she doesn't feel that what she did just now is a bit inappropriate? What I don't understand is why that woman targeted Chu Xia, seeing that the two of them hadn't seen the essence of the problem and were just tangling. Lu Meijun put forward her own opinion. Chu Xia pouted and nodded. I'm also surprised. When she went to our team to replace her, she didn't deal with us, and I didn't offend her. When she left, she ignored us. Now, what do you think? Woke up to talk to me? That's the way. It's a bit unpopular. Lu Meijun looked helpless. It seems that you didn't hurt from the fall, and you are still in the mood to joke. Hey, let you all worry and suffer. I always have to tease myself. I'm sorry, my father had surgery today, and I'm always in a state of turmoil. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made such a mess. Alas, in short, no matter what the result is, I will definitely bear it. What are you talking about? Sun Shangmei interrupted her with dissatisfaction on her face. I'm not helping you, I'm doing what I should do. What should I do? Chu Xia looked confused. Could it be that her way of thinking is wrong again? As a member of the women's medical team, of course I can't just stand by and watch you being bullied. What's more, you helped me at a critical time. If I stand by, am I still human? Chu Xia smiled helplessly. Okay, the performance is over. I helped you because I was moved by your persistence. You don't need to always feel that you owe me. Even if we don't owe you, we all belong to the red flag commune. I can't let you be bullied. Sun Shangmei stared at Chu Xia seriously, but I warn you, if you are bullied in the future, even if you know you can't beat them, you can't pretend to be cowardly. Okay, Chu Xia had no choice but to agree, and she understood that if she didn't agree, Sun Shangmei would definitely not let her go easily. Alas, she really has no mercy to talk to her today, and there is the matter of Li Shuolai. Oh, it's annoying her to death. Why don't I go with you and ask for a vacation with the captain? After all, it's uncle's operation. You don't have the heart to stay here like this. Crunch. As soon as Lu Meijun finished speaking, a car stopped beside them. Jing Zhe poked his head out. Lin Chuxia, get in the car. Your father's surgery will start in an hour and a half. Chu Xia can't care about anything now, to his recruits, to his other people's gossip, to his attention. For her father, she doesn't care about anything. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 178. One more. As Dean Su's assistants, Luo Xiaoxian and Xiao Miao's office is located outside Dean Su's office. Usually, ordinary guests are received outside, and only important guests are brought inside. It was only the second day at work, and Luo Xiaoxian's task was to familiarize herself with Dean Su's workflow. Xiao Miao and Luo Xiaoxian sat at the opposite table, seeing Luo Xiaoxian look at the schedule she had prepared for her for a while, then glanced out, with a preoccupied look, and asked suspiciously, "What's wrong?" "It's nothing." Luo Xiaoxian hurriedly regained her concentration and continued to stare at the schedule, but she couldn't read it because she had something on her mind. She stared at a page and didn't move for a long time. Xiao Miao turned to her in confusion, stared at the flow chart for a while, and said, "I see that the highest education record in your file is the first grade of high school, right?" Only then did Luo Xiaoxian realize that she had already stood beside him, and quickly responded, "Yes." "Then you," Xiao Miao pointed to the flow chart, "you have been staring at this page for half an hour. Do you not understand, or do you think there is something wrong?" "Xiao Luo, we will be colleagues in the future, and you must tell the truth if you have anything to do. Me, in this way, we can cooperate best." "This is very clear, I can understand it," Luo Xiaoxian said and quickly turned a page. "I want to memorize this, so I'll read it first, and then memorize it." Xiao Miao shook her head amusedly. "You don't need to memorize this, The flowchart is just for you to quickly understand the work that you need to assist the dean in the future, specifically. After you get familiar with the work for a while, it will be easy. Josei thanked her gratefully. Keep your head down and continue, however. Those lines of words caught my eyes, but I couldn't read them. After a moment of hesitation, she got up quickly, and Xiao Miao was startled by her actions. What's wrong? Josei apologized. I'm sorry, I lied to you just now. My good friend's parents are going to have an operation today, and I feel panicked. I can't stand it anymore. I want to ask the dean for a whole morning's leave. When I see Baohi's surgery was successful, so I can work hard with peace of mind. Xiao Miao waved her hand at her. I think something is wrong with you just now. Hurry up, the dean is very reasonable. Boom boom boom. Come in. Dean, I would like to ask for a morning's leave. Josei stood across from Dean Su's desk with a look of apprehension, and asked for leave the next day after coming to work. Even if she has no more experience, she also knows that this matter is a bit inappropriate. But she really couldn't control her emotions. What's wrong? Dean Su looked up from the document. Staring at Josei kindly, what difficulties did you encounter? Josei quickly shook her head. Dean, I have no difficulty. It was my uncle who underwent the operation today, and I was panicked. I want to go and watch to be at ease. Your uncle? Dean Su was taken aback. When did your uncle come to City A? Which hospital is it in? Josei hurriedly explained. He came here a few days ago. It's in our hospital. I didn't know it before. Last night, I couldn't sleep and went out for a walk. I met my aunt. Are you seriously ill? When Dean Su asked this question, he frowned unconsciously. To come here from a long distance from the countryside, he must be seriously ill. Not bad, Josei smiled and shook her head. It's femoral head necrosis, or early stage. I just drill a hole and put the medicine in. I know it's not serious, but I just can't help worrying. Embarrassed. Dean Su immediately knew who she was talking about, so he smiled and waved his hand. Okay, you go, I will grant you a day off, and you can go to work tomorrow. Yes, Josei gave a standard military salute, and bowed again. Thank you, Dean, I'm going. After speaking, she spun out of the office like a gust of wind. Dean Su put down his pen, sighed faintly, and lost the mood to work. She never expected that the sons of two friends fell in love with the same girl. Zhu Xingkan and Lin Yangqiu have been fighting for a lifetime. Now, should their sons continue to fight? Just thinking about this question gave her a headache. Jingzhe asked her about the patient who suffered from femoral head necrosis, and specially arranged for the patient to live in 401, and even performed the knife himself. At that time, she guessed that he had taken a fancy to his daughter. Because she remembered that the couple said they came to see their daughter. If it wasn't for his daughter, how could that boy Jingzhe be so enthusiastic? At that time, she still thought it was amazing that Lin Yangqiu's son had just got engaged, and Zhu Xingkan's son had a sweetheart. Could it be that this was sincerely trying to make the two of them equal? I remember she teased Jingzhe at that time and asked him when he would treat her to a wedding candy. The boy just smiled vaguely and said it was still early, so he mistook the topic. She just thought he was embarrassed and didn't think much about it. It wasn't until last night that Zhou Mikang came to her and told her about the hospitalization of his father-in-law and his mother-in-law, and hoped that she would keep it a secret and not reveal it to his mother Lin Yangqiu. After careful questioning, she realized that she had been mistaken all along. She could understand the couple's worries and feelings, plus Zhou Mikang's temperament of never begging for help. She agreed to him and didn't tell Lin Yangqiu, but she called Jingzhe over as soon as he was sent away. Jingzhe frankly admitted that he likes Lin Chuxia, but he also said that he would not intervene in the relationship between Zhou Mikang and Lin Chuxia. He just wanted to make Lin Chuxia more qualified to stand side by side with Zhou Mikang and let her Zhou's family is more confident in front of Zhou's family. She believed this, but she didn't believe in young people's ability to control their emotions. Both of them were her friends. She picked up a document that she picked out and put aside. Her brows were tightly locked together. It was Jing Zhe's request to assign Lin Chuxia to him as an assistant. She had already signed it, and she signed it when she didn't know that the hospitalized couple arranged by Jing Zhe were Lin Chuxia's parents. But now, she hesitated. In the ward. Her father, this is a minor operation, don't panic. Hearing his wife's trembling voice, Lin Baohe smiled and patted her hand on the bedside. Yulan, I don't panic, and you don't panic either. I'm not panicking. The woman in the next bed couldn't help laughing. Sister-in-law, your voice is shaking like chaff, but brother's voice is not shaking at all. The other bed companion immediately echoed with a smile. Yes, sister-in-law, it's okay, this is a minor operation, and Dr. Jing's skills are nothing to say. The little girl on the fourth bed also sat up. Auntie, I'm a nurse in this hospital. Dr. Jing is a famous surgeon in our hospital. He really doesn't perform this kind of surgery. I know, thank you all, I am very relieved of Dr. Jing's medical skills, but I just can't help feeling flustered. I have never been hospitalized, and I have never used a knife. Chu Xia, seeing her daughter suddenly appearing at the door, Zhao Yulan's eyes widened in surprise. Lin Baohe was refreshed when he heard his wife's cry. The next second, his daughter rushed to the bed and held his hand. Father, my mother and I are outside to accompany you. Xia, didn't you say that you are not allowed to come? Surprised in his heart, Lin Baohe still couldn't help complaining about his daughter. Father, your operation is a big deal, and I don't have the heart to train if I stay in the team. How did you get here? Zhao Yulan asked while looking out. Dr. Jing picked me up. He has to prepare for the operation, so he doesn't have time to come here now, Chu Xia said while looking at Zhao Yulan distressedly. Mom, did you not sleep last night? Zhao Yulan hurriedly said, last night, Captain Xiao Zhou was on the bed, and mother slept in Dr. Jing's lounge. The bed he came to accompany. Chu Xia's eyes were full of surprise. No wonder she didn't see him from last night to this morning. She just thought he was busy with work, and she was secretly depressed. After all, it wasn't true love, otherwise how could it be to ignore her at this time? Unexpectedly, he came to accompany the bed. Where did he go? I'm going to return the dishes and bowls. I said I'll go, but he insisted, Zhao Yulan said in a low voice. Xia, Captain Xiao Zhou is really nice, from now on, don't argue with him anymore. Come on, you know. Mom, when did I get into this fight with him? Chu Xia's face was speechless and affectionate, and her mother was completely bribed after the group leader Tongzi stayed with her all night in bed. Lin Baohe lowered his face and scolded his daughter. Your mother is right, you have a bad temper, and you are rude when you talk to Captain Xiao Zhou when father and mother are guarding. Impolite? Chu Xia has black hair. Well, if she is really polite to him, his face will probably be even darker. Fortunately, at this time, Luo Xiaoxian broke in at the right time and interrupted Father Xia's education class. When she first saw Chu Xia, Luo Xiaoxian had a look of surprise, and then tears began to fall down. Panicked, Chu Xia kept asking her if she had been wronged in any way. As a result, people replied that they were wronged only after seeing her. Accompanied by Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxian, Zhao Yulan's mood was obviously relaxed. It wasn't until the nurses came to push Lin Baohe into the operating room that she became nervous again. On the contrary, Lin Baohe completely relaxed and took her hand to comfort her. Yulan, don't be nervous. I'm not nervous at all when you are with me outside. Don't be afraid, this kind of minor operation is similar to a mosquito bite. Take a bag, and you'll be fine in a while. Zhao Yulan gave him an angry and funny look. If it's that easy, why bother Dr. Jing? This bag looks good too, doesn't it look good, haha. The serious little nurses sprayed. It was the first time they heard such a statement. Chusia and others followed the nurses to the door of the operating room, and found that the head of the group, Tong Zi, had already been waiting there. Seeing the bed being pushed over, he stepped forward to hold Lin Baohe's hand and shook it firmly, without saying anything. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 179. The second watch arrives. Thanks to Paris Fashion for a series of rewards, thank you very much. Zhao Yulan, Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxing sat side by side on the stool, staring at the light on the top of the operating room door. On the other side, Zhou Mikang stood there, staring out the window, thinking about something. Auntie, Chu Xia, Dr. Jing's medical skills are very good, uncle is sure to be fine. Luo Xiaoxing stroked Chu Xia's and Zhao Yulan's hands, softly comforting her. Zhao Yulan turned her head back and tried to put on a smiling face. I know, I've heard them say in the ward that Dr. Jing usually doesn't perform this kind of surgery. I'm not worried, but I just can't bear it. Don't panic. I'm panicking too. Chu Xia only felt it at this time. The palms of her clenched hands were full of sweat. Actually, I panicked too. Luo Xiaoxing was talking. When she saw a figure approaching out of the corner of her eye, she looked over reflexively, and quickly got up. President Su, hello. Chu Xia also quickly stood up. Dean Su, hello. You. Zhao Yulan stared at the boss. Aren't you? It's me. Dean Su smiled at her. Don't worry, this is a minor operation, it will be fine in a while, don't be nervous. Mother, do you know Dean Su? Chu Xia asked suspiciously. Yes, Dean Su was the first to discover your father's illness. Zhao Yulan pulled her daughter. Thank you, Dean Su, she persuaded me and your father to come to the hospital for treatment. This side was being polite. The door of the operating room opened, and Jingzhe came out first. The operation went very well. Auntie, Chu Xia. You can rest assured now, Dean Su. Why are you here? You attach so much importance to the operation, how can I not come and see it? He Jingzhe laughed twice, stepped forward and patted Zhou Mikang on the shoulder. Okay, you can rest assured, the operation was very successful, and in 3 months, Uncle Lin will be fully back to normal. Thank you. Zhou Mikang thanked her blankly, then nodded to Dean Su. He followed behind the group of people and walked to the ward. Dean Su held Jingzhe back. Wait a minute. Jingzhe stopped, the smile on his face faded. Aunt Su, don't tell me, you will go back on your word. You boy, you are quite smart. Xiaozhe. I watched you and Xiaomi grow up. I know your personalities very well. Your mother and your Aunt Lin have been fighting for a lifetime, and I don't want you and Xiaomi to become opponents for a lifetime. Well. With a heavy sigh, Dean Su smiled wryly. If I knew that the person you helped was Xiaomi's father-in-law and mother-in-law, I would definitely not have disclosed the news to you that day. Auntie. Don't worry, I won't fight. Zhou Mikang. Jingzhe looked at Aunt Su seriously. I really appreciate Lin Chuxia's talent in this area. You may think that I took her as an assistant, just out of admiration. Right. Isn't it? I checked, and she has never been exposed to this kind of knowledge before. Even if she is smart, she can lead a student from the beginning. After a pause, Dean Su continued, I don't believe that you are so do it, without the emotional element. You won't listen to what I say. Otherwise, I'll talk to Zhou Mikang. If he agrees, I'll take her. If he doesn't agree, I'll give up. Okay. After thinking about it for a while, Dean Su nodded. Okay, let him tell me in person. Chu Xia stayed with him in the ward until the evening before being sent back to the army by Zhou Mikang. This time, it was Zhou Mikang who sent her off in person. It was obvious that she was worried about her father. When Zhou Mikang started the car, he added, I will come over at night. Since you want to stay in the medical team, you must pay attention to it discipline. Chuseok quickly nodded, I know, thank you. Jo Mikang's face was a little gloomy. The atmosphere in the car immediately became gloomy. Chuseok could roughly guess the reason for his unhappiness, and moved his butt uncomfortably. I didn't mean to be polite to you, I really didn't expect that you would go to bed with you last night. I don't know what to do, only words can express my feelings. Anyway, I am very grateful. Do you understand what I mean? I'm not stupid. Jo Mikang glanced at her lightly. I'm engaged. This is what I should do. If you can't come out, if I don't sleep with you, who will sleep with you? That's right, nodding earnestly, I'm engaged to be my father's son-in-law, and it's right to stay with me in bed. However, I still want to say thank you. After all, there are many people who understand this truth, but few people who do it. You can think of it, and if you don't show credit to me, I think you are a very responsible man, so I don't think it is so difficult to accept marrying you. Jo Mikang was too lazy to share her knowledge, so he went straight to the topic. Do you want to be a doctor? Yes, Chuseok nodded affirmatively, and her expression became serious. I really want to be a doctor. Doctor is a very difficult profession. First of all, learning is a long process. Then, birth, old age, illness and death are things you have to face every day. After a long time, it may make you numb or depressed. Do you think that your mentality no problem? I'm not afraid of suffering. If you want to do well in any industry, it's impossible not to suffer. Birth, old age, sickness, and death are natural laws. I can accept this. I can also imagine that a failed operation will make the doctor extremely depressed. However, when a serious patient is successfully rescued, the sense of accomplishment from the heart can completely offset this depression. I can even imagine that some family members will take drastic actions because of the failed operation, but this is a minority after all, and I am still reasonable. In short, I like this industry now, I want to enter this industry, and I also want to be a leader in this industry. I am still young, and I have the opportunity to do everything I want to do. Can you give me a reason why you must become a doctor? Since there must be a profession, this is the only one I can think of that suits me right now. Chuseok looked at Jo Mikang honestly. The gap between me and you is too big. I want to use this profession to make me parents have found a little balance in their hearts. I see. Jo Mikang nodded and stopped talking. The reason why I promised teacher Jing to be his assistant that day was to take care of my father in time. Now, this is not the main reason. I really want to study medicine, and he is willing to take me. This is my chance. Jo Mikang glanced at Chuseok lightly. Are you worried that I will stop you? Yes, Chuseok nodded. You will definitely feel a little uncomfortable about this, but I really want to be a qualified doctor. Jo Mikang snorted coldly. If someone else takes you, you won't succeed. At his level, it is impossible for other doctors to take me. You understand quite well. Jo Mikang waved his hand. You don't have to worry about this matter, I will arrange it for you. You agreed? Chuseok's eyes sparkled. All of a sudden, Jo Mikang felt that her bright eyes were a bit of an eyesore. So why are you so happy? Being Jingzhe's assistant can make him happy like that? In other words, everything he did, why didn't he see her with that expression? You. Chuseok tugged at him lightly. Why are you so sullen again? I said, can you stop being so moody all the time, making people feel scared when they see you, and offend you if they don't know what to say? This is too big. Jo Mikang's eyes narrowed dangerously. Can I give you so much pressure? No, no, that's just a metaphor. I'm talking about pears, the pears you eat, do you understand? You're just giving me as much pressure as a pear, not too much, really not so much. The corner of Jo Mikang's mouth twitched. Is he really old? Why does it always feel like a donkey's lips don't match a horse's mouth when talking to her? This little girl obviously grew up in the countryside and has never seen much of the world, but why does she give him the feeling that she has more knowledge than him? It must be that he didn't sleep all night, and he was in a trance. Well, it must be so. In this way, the head of the group found a reasonable explanation for himself. That. Chusia poked him again. I want to ask you, you see, you think a lot about me, no matter what I thought or didn't think of, you thought of it all. Why did you make an appointment with me? Do you have to do this, or do you already like me a little? Jo Mikang frowned and glanced at her, but said nothing. What does your expression mean? Chusia stared at him confusedly. I'm rather stupid, I can't understand it. Can I trouble you to explain it in words instead of making me guess with your expression? It's not that the group leader's Heisa doesn't want to answer her, but he himself is also very confused. Does he like her, or is it because of something else? Anyway, he just unconsciously wants to think of everything for her, but what exactly does he like about her? Character? Looks? It seems that they have both, and it seems that they don't. In short, he himself is at a loss, so how could he answer her? Simply change the subject. Since you want to be a doctor, do you want to go to the school system to learn? This year the college entrance examination will resume, and you can review now, there is still time. I want to, but not now, Chusia thought to himself. Since I want to be a doctor, how can I not want to go to school? But now, it's really not an opportunity, and the famous medical school will officially enter the right track in the next year. Although she could pass the exam this year, it would be a waste of a year and a half. She wanted to be a real doctor, not just to get a diploma. That's why she thought to start with practice now, and then consider entering the school system to study in the next year. It just so happened that the medical school was affiliated to the military commission. If she hadn't been a soldier, she would not have been qualified to take the exam. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 180. One more. Why not now? Then when do you plan to go? The group leader Tongzi glanced at Chusia. Is it because I am worried that I will not agree? I will not stop this. Since I have agreed to let you work, of course I must cooperate with you. Chusia has a black thread, and the head of the group, can you be more affectionate? Jo Mikang also realized that what he asked was contradictory to what he said just now. He was the one who suggested her to go to school. How could she think that he disagreed? Sigh, what's going on with him? He thinks very rigorously in front of others. Why does he turn upside down whenever he talks to her? Just do what you want, you're not stupid, you should know what you're doing. You are stupid. Chusia unconsciously rolled his eyes at him. Is there such a person? It's really shameless for me to say something wrong and put the shit bowl on someone else's head. Doesn't she know that the younger you are, the better off you are, but isn't it a special situation in this age? Speaking of which, she is really at the golden age for entering school this year. If she wants to study in combination with undergraduate, master, and doctoral degrees, she will come out at just 27 and full of energy. Wow, you can become a generation of famous doctors in your 30s, someone thinks about it, and he is star-studded. Jo Mikang glanced at the self-satisfied Chusia, and couldn't help knocking her on the head. What are you doing, silly? Hey, Chusia, who was suddenly awakened by the knock, stared angrily at the other party. What are you going to do if you knocked my clever brain out of my head? Do you know that you almost knocked out a generation of famous doctors? The corner of Jo Mikang's mouth twitched. Are you making excuses for yourself in advance? The heart of a villain, Chusia glared at him viciously. Jo Mikang, one day you will be convinced by me. Jo Mikang smiled lightly and shook his head. Okay, I'll wait. You can tell by the way he smiles. He didn't believe her at all, Chu Xia pouted. With a cold snort, he turned his head out of the window and ignored him. Yo, the little girl has her self-esteem hurt? A smile welled up in Zhou Mikang's eyes. He likes her the most. She barks her teeth and claws at him, unlike other women, who can either be submissive and can be a specimen of a good wife and mother, or deliberately put on a noble appearance, but her eyes are always on the lookout, stuck to him. Or, that was why he had made up his mind to marry her, a wife he wanted, not a woman who adored him or his family. Convinced by her? Thinking of this sentence, he couldn't help laughing. She turned her head and gave him a hard look. Stop laughing. Good. He was very cooperative, and immediately suppressed his smile. I will take care of our parents, so don't worry about it and have a good rest, I promise. After 3 days you can take care of them openly. Yeah, Chu Xiaoxi's face lit up when she heard that she would be able to take care of her parents in 3 days, which meant that the group leader Tongzi agreed to be Jingzhe's assistant. This means the head of the group, Tongzi, agreed to her famous doctor plan. This shows that the day when her parents will be proud of her is not far away. Certainly. All of this is a long way to go. But people must have a goal in life, which is different from the muddle-headedness when they first came here. Now that she has found her own value, she wants to make her life worthwhile. She used to have no worries about food and clothing, as long as she practiced the piano and took classes according to her parents' requirements. She didn't have to worry about her future at all, but at that time, although she had no worries, she was more like a marionette in the hands of her parents. In this era, the former superiority was at a loss. She was so confused that she was at a loss. She never thought that such a bloody thing would happen to her one day. If she knew it earlier, she would definitely have a better understanding of this era. Unfortunately, the 3 words "knew early" and "regret medicine" are at the same level. Think about the rebirth girls in the book. One by one, the wind and the mountains and rivers have changed. Unlike her, she is so aggrieved that she can't even eat enough, but the reality is, as a quasi-90 generation, a post-90s who was raised as a delicate girl since she was a child, has no advantage at all in this era. That's right, no matter how delicate she is, she always has more business information than people in this era, but, in this era, it would be too slow for you to start a business. She was a partial birth and didn't have a strong body, so she could only let her parents suffer bitterly. Originally, she hoped to find a way out after a few years to pass the university entrance exam. Unexpectedly, he would meet Zhou Mikang and have the opportunity to be a soldier. But all of this was not what she really wanted, so at the beginning, she just thought that her parents were good to her, and she should be more proactive in repaying them. Facing Zhou's family, her parents' unprincipled and unconditional protection for her inspired her determination to live well in this era. She not only wanted them to live a good life, but also made them live a good life with a straight back. In short, she used to be so confused that she couldn't find a way to go on after all the calculations. Now, she finally has a goal to fight for. Only when a person has a goal will he be motivated. And the source of this motivation is her parents. And her confidence in becoming a good doctor is not blind. Because she used to practice piano, she has a pair of extremely dexterous hands. Coupled with her solid cultural foundation, she has an absolute advantage over others. From her choice, it can also be verified that girls are rich and boys are poor. She used to be a girl who was raised by riches. Indifferent, and more looking forward to, it is the embodiment of self-worth. In fact, people are like this: the less you care about something, the easier it is to get something, and the easier it is to lose it if you care about it. This principle is applicable to everyone and everything. Seeing the dazzling brilliance on her little face, Zhou Mikang was dazed for a moment. It seems that his decision was correct. Well, let him cover her from the wind and rain that blows towards her in the future. He likes to see her in high spirits. He hoped that one day, she would burst out with such a dazzling look because of their relationship. At this moment, he realized for sure that he liked her from the first time he saw her. He just liked her, and liked her unpretentiousness. Like her teasing him, like her truth. Because I am in a good mood. Back in the dormitory, facing Yuan Mingmeng's sarcasm, Chu Xia didn't even pay attention to her, and Yuan Mengmeng, who was talking to himself for a while, felt bored, so he shut up. Another person who was unhappy with Chu Xia was Lin Mengran. Touching her cold gaze, Chu Xia smiled back at her, and she snorted in disgust, and turned her gaze away. During this time together, Chu Xia also noticed it. Lin Mengran is the kind of character who is right about things but not about people. Her dissatisfaction should come from the frequent leave of absence during this time with her, so what she responded to her was kindness. Chu Xia, you're back. Lu Meijun, who came back from washing, saw Chu Xia, walked up to her in a few steps, and asked with concern. Is uncle's operation going well? Chu Xia smiled at her, very well. Thank you. Why are you being polite to me? Lu Meijun breathed a sigh of relief. It's good that everything goes well. Alas, I have been worrying for a day. By the way, have you seen Zioxian? Is she okay? Are you getting used to it over there? Everyone's ears perked up, luckily for Luo Zioxian. Few are not envious, yes. Few people are not curious when they hear her mentioned. Chu Xia nodded. Satisfying everyone's curiosity, I saw her. She also asked for leave today to spend a day with my parents. Dean Su is very kind to her. Lin Mengran suddenly said, Lin Chuxia, I'm sorry. Chu Xia was stunned for a moment, and smiled, what's wrong with you? My father's illness is not because of you. Lin Mengran scratched her head in embarrassment, you know, I was because of my attitude just now, I didn't know your father was sick. Chu Xia was quite surprised that ZhenMei didn't tell her about it. She hadn't seen ZhenMei until now because Lu Meijun and Zhang Erniu helped her. But in her mind, in order to give the team members an explanation, ZhenMei should tell everyone about it. Thinking this way, she looked at Lu Meijun suspiciously. As for Zhang Erniu standing behind Lu Meijun, she just ignored it. Yes, it would be better not to ask her. Lu Meijun spread her hands, the captain didn't let me speak out, and I don't know why. Seeing that it was still early, Chu Xia decided to go to ZhenMei. No matter what, she really caused a lot of trouble for others. No matter what the reason was, she should go and say thank you. ZhenMei was studying with a medical book in her dormitory when she heard a knock on the door and shouted without raising her head, come in. Captain, I'm back. Chu Xia sat on the small stool opposite ZhenMei, apologetic, I'm sorry, I caused trouble for the captain again. What's the trouble? ZhenMei put down the book and smiled at her, are you wondering why I didn't tell the team members about your father's illness and hospitalization? Chu Xia nodded honestly, I'm a little curious. It is estimated that you will ask for leave in the future. You can't come up with high-sounding reasons every time. Why not, from now on, let everyone create an established impression, which is good for you, me, and the team. Chu Xia's face turned red. Isn't this a disguised way to say that she is the trouble sister? Don't be embarrassed, you don't want to make your marriage with my brother public, but, after all, you are already engaged. If there is anything going on with their family in the future, you can't not go. Oh, if I were you, I would just go to the art troupe. Come on, how tired are you staying here? I don't like art troupes. Chu Xia sighed secretly. I believe many people would not understand her choice, but those who have not experienced it are not qualified to say anything. ZhenMei hesitated, and said, second aunt likes it? Did you tell her? ZhenMei shook her head, no, my second aunt is busy trying to transfer you to the art troupe, but I want to tell her that the art troupe wants you to go. I hesitated for a while, but I didn't say anything. she knew later, I still don't know how to scold me. It's embarrassing for you. Chusia apologized. It seems that what I brought you is not only embarrassing, but also embarrassing. Oh, what should I do to make it up to you? You, treat my third brother well and avoid contact with Drjing, that's the best way to make up for me. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 181. The second watch arrives. Chuxia's small face was flushed red, adding a bit of color. Zhenmei was stunned when she saw it, and she thought to herself, she is a woman, she is willing to take a few more glances, let alone a man? At this moment, she is very grateful for the third brother. If she doesn't marry and go home early, and stay for another 2 years, she will show her stately appearance. It is still unknown whether the third brother can snatch her. Well, maybe the third brother thinks so too. However, if you ask him, he will definitely not admit it, but she absolutely believes that even if he doesn't think so subjectively, he definitely thinks so subconsciously. Thinking of what Lin Chuxia had suffered in her hometown before, she felt a little embarrassed. If she hadn't met her third brother, she really dared not say whether her future would be a blessing or a curse. Since ancient times, it's not unreasonable for women to be so unlucky. Without sufficient self-protection ability, the beauty of the country can only be a disaster rather than a blessing. An ordinary family will absolutely not be able to protect this golden phoenix. I know that I'm not qualified to say more about your relationship, but after a pause, Zhenmei continued, but, you have already engaged with my third brother, and I believe you can also see that Jingzhe is interested in you. Do you think it's appropriate for you to be his assistant when you know he likes you? Chu Xia looked at her calmly. What does Captain Zhang think I should do? I don't know. Zhenmei shook her head. Maybe you don't like what I say, but I really do it out of kindness. The third brother has never intended to get married, and the second aunt's family is very anxious, so when they know when my brother is willing to marry you, his first reaction is that no matter what kind of person or background you are, they will accept it. But when you really settle down with third brother, their mentality will definitely be different from before, and they will definitely be unhappy about your rumors. You also know that until now, Grandma Zhou has not fully accepted you. If there are gossip about you and Drjing, it will be even more difficult for her to accept you. Actually tell you this. I hesitate, but it's rare to see my third brother care so much about someone. I hope the road between you and him will be smooth. Or you don't know that in our circle, someone with the conditions like my third brother would never marry a wife like you if it weren't for special circumstances. Marry him. You will become the object of many people's attention, and many people will pick on you. You are a smart person, so I don't need to go into details. You should also understand, right? Understood. Chu Xia nodded. I know you said this for my own good. But I think you might be disappointed to marry Zhou Mikang. I will do my best to be the daughter-in-law of the Zhou family, but that doesn't mean it. I'm going to lose myself for this. That's right, I'm a child of a commoner family, and my family is very poor. According to the secular conditions, I'm not worthy of Zhou Mikang, but if he chooses me, he must accept everything about me. Zhenmei stroked her forehead with a headache. Why do you insist that he accept everything about you, instead of you making changes for him? It's he who wants to marry me, not me who wants to marry him. You. Zhenmei looked helplessly at Chu Xia, who had transformed into a little hedgehog. I'm really doing it for your own good, don't be so resistant, okay? I'm sorry. Chu Xia let out a long sigh of relief, and tried to calm down her emotions. After all, she is not from this era. When others interfered with her private life with confidence, she couldn't help but erect thorns all over her body. Actually, when you think about it, the other party is indeed offering kind advice, so it's really unreasonable for her to treat him like this. However, even if she understands this truth, she still can't accept other people's interference in her private life. Why should she follow the Zhou family's ideas everywhere? The grievances between her mother-in-law Lin Yangqiu and Jingzhe's mother seemed boring to her. Could it be that she would give up her career planning because of the boring rift between them? Of course, it doesn't mean that she can't be a doctor without Jingzhe, she just doesn't want to waste time, and, after thinking about it carefully, Jingzhe's appreciation for her is nothing more than the teacher's admiration for the students, and she avoids unnecessary speculation. It is not only disrespect for oneself but also disrespect for others. It's not that I don't listen to persuasion. You also know that the gap between my family and Zhou's family is too great. I can be calm, but my parents can't do it. I have a skill to make them feel at ease. Zhenmei has always said she's not bad. Chu Xia doesn't want her to misunderstand, but too many explanations are meaningless and unnecessary. I believe that the other party should be able to understand. Lin Chuxia. Zhenmei got up and stared at Chuxia seriously. If I said before, I just thought it was luck that you married my third brother, but now, I want to say that you are absolutely worthy of him. That's a high rating. Chu Xia frowned. Thank you. But you must also be mentally prepared. No matter what level you do, in the eyes of outsiders, you marrying my third brother is a tall order. After all, few people have the patience to understand you. What they see, only the aura you got. I know, I don't mind what other people say. That's good. Zhenmei hesitated and said, haven't you thought about taking the university entrance exam this year? Why did she come to ask her this question? Chu Xia explained with a wry smile, when he sent me back, Zhou Mikang had already asked me about this, and I want to take the exam next year. Okay, treat me as talkative. Zhenmei smiled helplessly. To tell you the truth, my second aunt's temper is also quite stubborn. I was worried that you would conflict with her, so I called you in advance. As for the vaccination, my mother also asked me to remind you that if she knew that you were Jingzhe's assistant, she would never allow it. Sigh. With a long sigh, Chu Xia also had a sad face. If the mother-in-law really got into a fight with her, she wouldn't contradict her like she talked with Zhou Mikang and Zhenmei, would she? After the morning exercises the next day, all the students came to the classroom and sat down early. Their little faces were full of anticipation and nervousness. They chatted absent-mindedly, and their eyes stared outside from time to time. Not only looking forward to Jingzhe's coming soon, but also looking forward to his coming later, so that hope can burn in my heart for a while longer. People, that's how it is. If the results are not announced, they all hope that the pie will fall on their own heads. Isn't there a good impromptu performance and a bad impromptu performance during the exam? Now everyone hopes that the one who performs well on the spot is oneself, and the one who does not perform well on the spot is someone else. Of course, there are also some students who are not affected, such as Qiaoning Ai, Yang Zili, Lin Mengran, and some students from other classes with very good family conditions. When they come here, learning is only one aspect. The most important thing is to get what they want under the halo of that circle. At 8 o'clock, Jingzhe appeared at the door of the classroom on time, and the students who were sitting upright became even more straight. After looking around, Jingzhe smiled slightly. It can be seen that everyone is expecting me to announce the result, right? Yes. Teacher, don't be tricky. Yes, teacher, tell me who you choose to be your assistant. Teacher, it can't be me. You step aside, it must be me. The scene immediately became noisy like a frying pan. It seems that everyone doesn't want to know the result anymore, Jingzhe said while opening the textbook. In this case, I just tell her one person after class. Now, let's start the lecture. Teacher. This time, the voice was surprisingly neat. Jingzhe just laughed. Well, the test results this time are better than I imagined, which shows that everyone has really put in effort in their studies. If it is not limited by the conditions, I really want to choose a few more assistants. Everyone's eyes widened. Jingzhe glanced at Chu Xia's direction, sighed quietly, but still had a smile on his face. Okay, I won't be a secret, and the one who will be my assistant is Wu Jingbo from class 4. Everyone looked at Wu Jingbo in unison, with envy and jealousy. When Jingzhe read Wu Jingbo's name in early summer, her heart sank suddenly. She bit her lip, held back the tears welling up, and cheered herself up. Lin Chuxia, you can't cry. You can't be violent. She took a few deep breaths, and finally suppressed her tears. Lu Meijun, who was sitting beside her, quietly held her hand and squeezed it, and turned to look at Jingzhe, feeling a little dissatisfied. Since it has not been settled, why make a promise? How can anyone play like this? In an instant, Jingzhe became a hypocrite in Lu Meijun's mind. After announcing Wu Jingbo's name, Jingzhe's gaze turned to Chuxia calmly. Of course, her expression couldn't be hidden from him who was standing on a high place. Seeing her sad and disappointed appearance, he felt his heart tugging. Standing up, the hands on the table were clenched into fists, and the dark red liquid flowed down the fingers. All morning, Chu Xia was distracted. She believes that Jingzhe is not a person who doesn't count his words, so there is only one possibility for him to do so. Zhou Mikang put pressure on him, and the Zhou family put pressure on him. After all, she is the prospective daughter-in-law of the Zhou family, and it is very normal for him to succumb to the pressure of the Zhou family, so she has nothing to blame her for. Now, what she wants to do most is to question Zhou Mikang. Is what he said all in vain? He clearly promised her that in 3 days, she could go to see her father openly and above board. She suddenly shivered, and there was another way. She could go to see her father openly, that is, she was transferred from the medical team. Thinking of Zhenmei's conversation last night, she immediately felt blood rushing to her forehead. Why? Why did they decide her future without asking for her opinion? There is no such thing as bullying. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 182. It's 3 o'clock. Seeing Chu Xia rushing in angrily, Zhou Mikang raised his eyes and glanced at her. It's pretty quick, I just wanted Han Liang to find you. Leader, I'm going to get busy first. Zhou Hanliang rushed out of the office as if fleeing as he said, he didn't have the intention to mix up the interest of the young couple. How can you not count your words? Chu Xia was so angry that he picked up a book on the table and threw it at Zhou Mikang. How dare you lie to me, how dare you lie to me? Don't mess around. Zhou Mikang took the book and frowned at her. Is it your habit to button up hats indiscriminately? Why don't I ask indiscriminately? The assistant's name has been announced, how can I wrong you? You clearly promised me yesterday, how can you be like this? Chu Xia, who was full of grievances, said with tears it fell uncontrollably. Seeing the pear blossoms with rain on the face of the little man opposite, Zhou Mikang looked helpless. I mean, after 3 days, you can go to see our father openly, right? Chu Xia sniffed. Isn't that the same meaning? She didn't dare to speak out her guess, for fear that it would come true soon. How could it be the same? Also, what I was asking was, you really want to be a doctor that much, don't you? Chu Xia nodded. Yes, you also suggested that I go to medical school. You basically agreed to let me become a doctor. How can you do the opposite? Without Jingzhe, you can't be a doctor anymore. You. Chu Xia's face flushed red. If someone with better medical skills than him is willing to accept me as an apprentice, of course I have no objection. Then it's over. Zhou Mikang spread his hands. How did your brain grow? You can't turn around? When you went to my house to discuss marriage, Jingzhe's mother dragged Jingzhe to my house. It's not that you don't know. If you become Jingzhe's apprentice, wouldn't you really want to piss my mother off? Chu Xia shrank her neck guiltily, and said nothing. She couldn't say in front of Zhou Mikang that the humming fight between his mother and Jingzhe was so boring. She was too lazy to answer. When did I fail to do what I promised you? Joe Mikang snorted coldly. Do you suspect that I kicked you out of the medical team? I didn't say that. I can tell just by looking at you. You don't think that at all. Is it wrong for me to think that way? You didn't explain it to me. Li Chuxia quickly changed the subject. Which teacher did you arrange for me? Better than Dr. Jing or worse than Dr. Zheng? Is it male or female? How old? Are you easy to get along with? Do you really want to take me? Zhou Mikang looked at her with a frown. Apologize to me first. I'm sorry at this time. Chu Xia will never be stubborn, not only apologized, but also paired with a sweet smile. Zhou Mikang grimaced. Remember, you are not allowed to smile at others like this in the future, especially men. Yes, Chu Xia quickly suppressed her smile, secretly slandering her. Tsundere man, narrow-minded. The one taking you is Song Xiao, the chief physician of 401. She is 48 years old this year. She has a higher level than Jingzhe, and her medical skills are no worse than Jingzhe. She has a serious personality, but she is a nice person. She is my mother's friend, so you can rest assured to follow her. She will devote herself to teaching you. She will definitely not be less dedicated than Jingzhe, the head of the group. Tongzi answered Chu Xia's household registration questions thoroughly. 48 years old? A little serious? Or a friend of the future mother-in-law? In the early summer, my little face became bitter, and 48 years old means that I am very close to menopause. A little serious means that you are not particularly easy to get along with, and the friend of the future mother-in-law means that you will be extremely strict with her. All right. It's not that she picked it on purpose, it's that she is really afraid of getting along with women of this age. Her former piano teacher was at this age, her former homeroom teacher was at this age, her original mother was at this age, they without exception. She wanted to die all the time. But right now she has no choice at all. If she dares to say something, the team leader's Heise probably, oh no, she will definitely think that she just wants to talk to Jing's Hizzy. Okay, I see, someone replied weakly. The corner of Zhou Mikang's mouth twitched unconsciously. What kind of attitude did she have? It took him so much effort to get Aunt Song to agree to take her, but she was so reluctant. Listen to me, Dr. Song is much more famous than Jingzhe, don't be dissatisfied. I'm not dissatisfied. Chu Xia muttered in a low voice, and quickly stood up straight. Don't worry, I will respect Dr. Song as I respect your mother. Who is my mother? Lin Yang Kaiu. Zhou Mikang. Is this what he asked? She really wanted to piss him off, right? Looking at the constipated face of the head of the group, Chu Xia finally realized where he was wrong, and was rescued quickly. It's also my mother. If you hadn't met me, you would have been sold and still counting the money. Zhou Mikang stroked his forehead speechlessly. Okay, go back to class quickly, your transfer order will come down tomorrow, after our father is discharged from the hospital, you then practice with Dr. Song. However, don't just play around in the hospital these days, read more. Dr. Song is a strict teacher. If you don't perform well, she will drive you back at any time. When the time comes, don't crying because of embarrassment. Yes, Chu Xia happily replied and ran out. The moment the door opened, she was frightened to take a step back. Teacher, instructor, you. He. Su Zhenghong smiled embarrassingly. Chu Xia, are you in there too? I happened to come here and have a few words with Han Liang. He. Little uncle, come in if you have something to say. Zhou Mikang greeted him blankly, holding Su Zhenghong and Zhou Han Liang one by one. You're welcome, come in. In front of Chu Xia, no matter how reluctant the two of them were, they couldn't break free by force, so they had no choice but to be dragged in by Zhou Mikang reluctantly. Xiaomi, he. Su Zhenghong laughed, not knowing how to explain it. After all, it is wrong for an elder to spy on a junior. Master, this father-in-law is hospitalized. I'm going to go over and keep an eye on it for a few days. I need to trouble you about the training, Zhou Mikang said while putting a stack of documents in Su Zhenghong's arms, and turned to look at Zhou Hanliang. What's the matter these few days? Report directly to the teacher, I won't come here. After finishing speaking, before the two of them could react, he picked up the car keys, swayed at the two of them chicly, turned around and left the door of the office, leaving only the two doors that slammed back and forth. The next day, when Wu Jingbo officially became the assistant of Jingjie, there was another announcement that announced that Lin Chuxia had become the assistant of Dr. Song Xiao in the 401 hospital. Carry out systematic study. The sensation caused by this announcement can be imagined. Especially after the local students revealed Song Xiao's status in the local area, it became even more sensational. For a while, everyone even hoped that their family members would be sick and live in 401, so that they could also meet such a good opportunity. Everyone automatically thought that the opportunity in early summer was due to her father's illness. Lin Bao he recovered very well and was discharged from the hospital 5 days later. Considering his health, Zhou Mikang decided to drive them back to their hometown in person. Of course Chu Xia also wanted to follow, but since she wanted to continue working, she couldn't do whatever she wanted like the head of the regiment, who would do it for her if she had a teacher. Fortunately, although Dr. Song Xiao is in menopause and is a serious person, he is not an unreasonable person. He is not enthusiastic about Chu Xia, but he is not too indifferent. Her current task is to follow her and watch her treat patients. Song Xiao also brought another intern, named Wang Jing, who graduated from medical school. She obviously didn't have a cold for Chu Xia, a bumpkin. Basically, she didn't even like to look at her. It doesn't matter to Chu Xia, face is earned, she believes that one day, they will respect her like a doctor. Dalian Village. In the open space behind Luo Gangshan and Ant Fat's house, the foundations of the 5 houses have been laid firmly, and the red walls are half built. Every day, many people come to watch the excitement. In the village, no one has built a big red brick house yet. This is the only one, and everyone is guessing who the owner of the house is. It's a pity that I asked the people who built the house several times, and they all said that they didn't know, saying that they were entrusted to do the work, and they just did the work, and they didn't know who owned the house. Someone asked the new owner's neighbor, Luo Gangshan, the current secretary of the Dalian Village Committee, "Secretary, you really don't know who the owner is?" Luo Gangshan shook his head, "I don't know. Although I approved the foundation, it was approved by the documents from above. I asked who would live after it was built, but they didn't tell me." The fat ant sighed with eye problems. "It will be great when our house can be replaced with such a big tile-roofed house. Look at how grand it is, and how bright it is inside." Someone laughed and joked, "Fat ant, what are you in a hurry for? My son and daughter are all enlisted in the army. If you are done, I will take you to live in a big house in the city. Why do you care about this big tile house? What's so good about a big house?" The fat ant curled her lips. "Isn't it the same as being in prison if we are locked up inside? If they are really promising and can build us such a big tile house, I will be content in my life." After finishing speaking, she went back to the house with some disinterest. Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan were not in the village, and she always felt that half of the villagers were missing, and she couldn't cheer up. If she had known, she should have gone with her, and she could still see her daughter and son. Alas, I don't know how they are doing there. Do they miss their family, their parents? "Aunt Fat, you have guests at your house." Hearing someone yelling outside, Aunt Fat greeted her. Seeing that it was her future in-laws Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan, she quickly put on a smile and said, "You guys are here. I heard that Baohe is sick. What's the matter? Send me a message." I didn't explain clearly. I thought about asking, but I didn't feel the nerve to go. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 183. One more. The doctor said that Baohi's disease was discovered early. After a minor operation, he recovered like a normal person. It didn't hinder him at all knowing that the fat ant was worried about Lin Baohi's condition. Li Aiwan didn't say a word of nonsense, and it happened that Luo Gangshun also got it. When the news came back, I let out a long sigh of relief when I heard her say this. I just think that Baohi and his wife are such good people, God has to protect them. Why didn't you say that 2 days ago? And Fat rolled his eyes at him. If you didn't sigh, would I be so worried? Luo Gangshun smiled helplessly. You just like to expose my faults. He greeted Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan while talking. My in-laws, let's talk in the room. How old is the head of the group who took a fancy to Chu Xia? How does he look? What's the result now? After several people entered the room, the fat ant asked anxiously. Ever since Lin Baohi and his wife went to City A, she had been hanging on her heart, but after waiting for a few days, she got a letter from Zhao Yushan, saying that Lin Baohi was ill and had to stay in City A for treatment. And nothing else was said. She was so anxious that she thought that Lin Baohi's illness was caused by the group leader who had a crush on Chu Xia, and she regretted not going with her at that time. Knowing that Zhao Yushan's health was fine, she hurriedly asked about the other thing she was most concerned about. Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan looked at each other and laughed at the same time. In-laws, actually, you guys also know the head of the group who likes Chu Xia, Li Aiwan said. Luo Gangshun, who was pouring water, trembled, and looked at Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan in disbelief. What you said? Is it Captain Zhou? The fat ant immediately frowned. Isn't he? Hasn't he been engaged a long time ago? He is engaged, but to our family in early summer. The date of marriage has also been fixed, the 9th day of September. You can wait for the wedding bar when the time comes for his niece married to such a good family. Zhao Yushan is very happy. 100 people are satisfied, and when it comes to this matter, his face is full of high spirits. Real. Luo Gangshun and Fat Ant still had expressions of disbelief, expressing their uncertainty in unison. Really, Li Aiwan laughed, it's absolutely true. Yushan and I accompanied Yulan and Baohi to the Zhou family. Baohi and Yulan refused to take over the relatives of the Lin family, saying they would talk about it when they got married. The Zhou family, what does it look like? Luo Gangshun glanced at his wife. It's useless to ask. He turned to Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan. The Zhou family is not an ordinary family, is it? The fat ant looked at Luo Gangshun with contempt. Hey, what you asked is not the same as what I asked. It seems. After a pause, Luo Gangshun smiled embarrassedly. It seems that it is really the same thing. I am not happy about it. You said that Xiao Chuxia is really blessed. I have only been there for a few days. I just found such a good family, and I heard from Uncle De Gang that the Zhou family is not an ordinary person. It is equivalent to our governor here. No, daughter-in-law. If you pinch me, why am I still not convinced? Hiss. The fat ant reached out and pinched the soft flesh on Luo Gangshun's waist. Unceremoniously twisting and turning around, Luo Gang can only take a breath of air conditioning by the way. Both Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan had smiles on their faces. Okay. Luo Gangshun, who finally regained his strength, patted the fat claws pinched on the waist by the fat ant. Why didn't I see you so obedient when I was next to you? The fat ant who made a fortune pretended not to hear, and looked at Zhao Yushan and his wife. Baohi and Yulan can finally rest assured, our own family is talking like Chu Xia, and we don't want to find someone who can protect us sooner. It's really worrying for people to settle down. Li Aiwan nodded approvingly. Yeah, knowing about her grandma and her master's illness, most of them will be cured at once, otherwise, we won't be able to make it through right now. What happened to uncle and aunt? Li Aiwan couldn't help sighing. After we left, the old couple got angry and committed the old problem. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to delay coming here until today. The fat aunt hurriedly asked, are uncle and aunt okay now? Luo Gangshun also looked at Zhao Yushan and his wife with a worried expression. It's almost there. Li Aiwan laughed while talking. It was my old lady who urged us to come over and explain to you, lest you would be worried. Look, I said you always think too much. The fat aunt poked Luo Gangshun angrily, and then explained to Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan, as soon as you come back, someone will send a message and I want to go and have a look. I feel that if something didn't hold you back, you could just pass on a few words if you specify that you can't. My family just stopped me from going, saying that I did that, and you would misunderstand that I was dissatisfied and you didn't come here in person. You said I was going to go early, so why would you make this trip any longer? People who are cotters are like this. It's a simple thing, but you have to think about it, Li Aiwan said while pointing at Zhao Yushan. My family also has such a temper. Zhao Yushan said casually, we call it rigorous. Knowing that the other party deliberately gave him a step down, Luo Gangshun smiled embarrassedly, it's my fault. Zhao Yushan smiled and waved his hands, I also have a daughter, I understand your thoughts, but I am afraid that people will look down on my daughter. He laughed twice, and the words changed, I have another happy event to tell you. It's about our family Ziokshan, in-laws. Ziokshan's child is also lucky, he only went there for a few days, and the director of the big hospital fell in love with him. Aunt Fat immediately interrupted Zhao Yushan in surprise, in-laws, let alone the dean, even if the governor is interested, our family can't do that immoral thing. He. Li Aiwan smiled and put her arms around the fat aunt's shoulders, mother-in-law, you are overthinking, the dean is a woman, she has taken a fancy to our Ziokshan as her assistant. The fat aunt immediately let out a long sigh of relief, and patted her chest, I was scared to death, I thought it was Ziokshan who did something immoral. Can Ziokshan of our family do such immoral things? Luo Gangshun glanced at his wife, you are still her mother, let her know, don't worry about it. He turned to look at Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan, my in-laws, can you elaborate? If we, Ziokshan, become the dean's assistant, can we still serve in the army? Of course I can serve as a soldier. He is an army doctor and the best hospital in Province A. Li Aiwan reported Luo Ziokshan's affairs to Luo Gangshun and his wife in detail. Which of the parents doesn't want their children to be successful? Rather than being able to marry a good family, what they hope is that their children will have a future. After chatting for a while, Li Aiwan changed the topic to the big house built behind Luo's house. When we came, we saw that you were building a big house behind you. Who in your village is so capable? I don't know. Fat Aunt shook her head, we also wondered, the land was not just approved, it was a document directly issued by the superior, saying that the piece of land was approved. Maybe it was a retired university student the official wants to come back to take care of the elderly. But after much deliberation, we haven't figured out who it is. Zhao Yushan guessed, maybe it's the old cotters who were sent down to the village before. They have feelings for this place and want to come here to retire. Well, it's really possible. Luo Gangshun slapped his forehead fiercely, why didn't I think of this, my in-laws, or else, you have a keen sense of politics, I know that these people in the village I guessed and guessed. What's sensitive? I'm just guessing. I didn't even make a wild guess. Listening to the two men beating each other, Li Aiwan and Aunt Fat looked at each other and shook their heads together. Zhou Mikang drove Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe to the Hunky commune after nearly a day of traveling. Looking at the familiar scenery outside the window, Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe finally felt relieved from the depression caused by parting from their daughter. Occasionally passers-by would crane their necks to look into the car curiously. In this day and age, cars are really a rare thing. Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe, who were looking out, quickly retracted their necks when they saw someone peering in, their buttocks moving around with uncomfortable expressions. Zhou Mikang saw their small movements from the rear-view mirror, and knew that they were worried about not greeting people outside. When they went back, they were told that their eyes were on the top of their heads, so he explained, "Father, Mother, the glass of this car has been specially treated, people outside can't see who is sitting inside." Lin Baohe breathed a sigh of relief immediately. That's good, that's good. Xiaozhou. Zhao Yulan greeted Zhou Mikang, but stopped talking. "Mother, if you have anything to say, just say it. We are a family now, so we don't need to be so particular." Zhao Yulan smiled embarrassedly. "Xiaozhou, there is something I didn't want to ask at first, but I still can't help it." "Mom, tell me." "That's it?" Zhao Yulan glanced at Lin Baohe, saw the other party nodded, and then said hesitantly, "It's about the gift money. Of course, we don't think it's too little, but we just want to know if there is anyone in your family who is dissatisfied with Chu Xia, otherwise, your father and I won't be able to settle down when we get home." This matter is a knot in the hearts of Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe. They have been holding back these days, and now that they are home, Zhao Yulan really can't hold back. From Zhou Mikang's actions and attitude, it can be seen that he is very satisfied with Chu Xia, but the more he is like this, the more worried the couple are. If it wasn't for the great dissatisfaction of the Zhou family, how could he compromise on the gift money without an explanation? Maybe it's because I'm afraid it won't sound good to say it. But no matter what, the couple still want to know the reason, so that they can fundamentally solve the problem. Zhou Mikang looked at the couple and smiled. "Father, Mother, let me play tricks. I'll tell you when I get home, okay?" The couple nodded. Can they say bad? At this time, their worries grew stronger. If they were not afraid that they would not be able to bear it, why didn't they dare to speak on the road? First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 184. One more. The joining of Zhang Ernia brought the third class back to 10 people. As for who the god Chen Yaojin who came in halfway was, everyone was very curious. Unfortunately, Qiaoning I didn't want to mention it, so everyone could only be curious. Into dreamland. Chu Xia fell asleep in worry. Now she is not interested in who drove Zhang Ernia to the third shift. She is only worried about whether her old mother has a place to sleep. At this time, the leader Tongzi was guarding Lin Baohe's bed, and Zhao Yulan was forced by the leader Tongzi to sleep in Jingzhe's lounge. How could Zhao Yulan sleep? But the indisputable character of the future son-in-law, how can she beat him? He had no choice but to lie on the small bed in Jingzhe's lounge and kept tossing and turning. Over there, Lin Baohe was also extremely uncomfortable. Although he was able to speak up when fighting for his daughter's rights and interests, but the identity of the son-in-law was there after all, and he was not too familiar with him. He really couldn't bear to let the other party come to accompany him in bed. Moreover, he hasn't had an operation yet, and he doesn't need an for at night, so he doesn't need to accompany him in bed at all. Okay. Helplessly, he signaled several times secretly and clearly, but the son-in-law still sat there motionless, which made him both happy and terrified. Why is the son-in-law staying here? Of course it's because of my daughter. Although thinking that his daughter will be pampered and hurt by another man in the future, he will feel a little sour about his daughter being snatched away, but compared to his daughter's happiness, what is his little sourness? Quietly looking at the straight back sitting on the bed, Lin Baohe closed his eyes comfortably, and continued to think, if the son-in-law cares so much about his daughter, why is the gift money? Several times. Lin Baohe even wanted to ask, but he swallowed the words back. If you really want to ask that, What if you are misunderstood that he is greedy for the Joe family's money? Never mind. Time will tell, so he doesn't think about it. This is the second time for Joe Mikang to accompany her in bed. He knew that Chusia was worried that her mother would not have a place to rest at night, so, knowing that Lin Bao he didn't need to accompany her in bed, he forcibly came to accompany her in bed. Only in this way can Zhao Yulan feel at ease. Go to rest, Chief Zhaizi, are you sure? There are 4 patients in the room. 2 of them had to be dripped all night after the operation, but in order not to affect the rest of others, the 2 patients who needed the drip only turned on the small light by the bedside, and the nurses came in very lightly. In this way, it seemed that this night was extraordinarily quiet. Joe Mikang sat there quietly, staring unfocusedly at the nurse's desk outside the door, feeling in his heart. But far less calm than the expression on his face. The last time I was in bed with you. The one lying on the bed was Yamiru. That is abroad. He was so busy studying that he never noticed her strangeness. Until one day, when he came home from get out of class, he found her paralyzed in pain in the living room. Under the body, there are blood stains that have solidified. When I saw him, her eyes lit up. Brother, help me. She kept calling him brother. He thought she was seriously ill. I was so scared that I picked her up and ran out, forgetting that there was a phone in the room, so I could call an ambulance directly. She had a miscarriage. Although he and she lived in the same room, they had always abided by their duties. 1 month before that happened, he and her drank a lot. When he woke up, he was hugging her, naked. Therefore, he did not doubt the child's origin at all. He took care of her wholeheartedly, and he was so guilty that he thought it was his negligence that caused her harm. He even swore secretly when he was sitting by the hospital bed that he must work hard to let her live the life she wanted. Before he was discharged from the hospital, he went to ask the attending doctor if there was anything he needed to pay attention to when he returned. The attending doctor was a woman in her 40s, and she looked at him with a very unkind expression. Do you know how much a miscarriage of a 4-month-old fetus can cause a woman? Even if the ban can be lifted after 3 months, can you do anything else? He was confused by the doctor's questioning, thinking that the other party had admitted the wrong person, so he reported the bed number, but the other party said angrily, "That's right, it was you, don't you know why she had a miscarriage?" I pretended to be confused and thought we doctors were fools. Later, he was scolded as a fool by the attending doctor. On the day he was admitted to the hospital, he was in a panic, and he didn't hear what the doctor said clearly. He only knew that he would sign when he was asked to sign. In the next few days, the doctor just made rounds to observe the recovery situation, and didn't mention anything about his illness. I have always felt that the child is only 1 month old and has a miscarriage. After being scolded, he went back to look at the medical records, and sure enough, it was clearly marked that the 14th week of gestation caused a traumatic abortion. He didn't know what hurtful abortion was, but according to the doctor's scolding, if he didn't understand what hurtful abortion meant, he would really be considered a pig. He didn't say anything at the time, and accompanied her out of the hospital. During the time she needed to recuperate, he didn't say anything, he just took care of her with all his heart, and she also showed unprecedented tenderness. Everything looked beautiful. Only he knows best, the monstrous waves hidden in his heart. As soon as she fully recovered, he had a showdown with her. She didn't deny it, saying that he left her at home, she was so lonely. Danny was very gentle and treated her well. Then, he moved out of that home. She went to Danny's. That time, her hospital bed was also facing the nurse's desk, but the nurse behind the desk had blue eyes. The same scene brought dusty memories to the surface. He closed his eyes and sighed, trying to suppress the depression in his heart, and secretly blamed himself. He was already engaged, so why should he think about things that had passed long ago? This is for you, You can rest your legs on it. The little nurse blushed and moved a chair for him, and also gave him a blanket by the way. Staring at him with a hook, probably caused a misunderstanding. Alas, he turned his back to Lin Bao, just because he didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable, but he didn't expect that the little nurse misunderstood him, but there was no way to explain it, so he waved his hand and put the blanket on the chair, to signal the other party to move out. The little nurse blushed even more, and lowered her voice, "You can use it. Sitting like this all night is too tiring. I'm on duty, so I don't even need it." After finishing speaking, Joe Mikang ran quickly out. The room was quiet, and although the little nurse's voice was low, anyone who was not asleep could hear it clearly. The escorts in the second bed and the third bed couldn't sleep, and they looked at Joe Mikang with narrow eyes. They knew the relationship between Joe Mikang and the couple living in the bed. Although I didn't talk about it in detail, I also vaguely knew from the conversation that this is the daughter of the family who became a soldier and climbed to the top. To be honest, the women with the second and third beds are envious from the bottom of their hearts. They don't know what the future son-in-law's family situation is like, but it's really rare to find a son-in-law who can do his best so hard. If their daughters can find such a son-in-law who knows the cold and the hot and respects his father-in-law and mother-in-law, that would be great. After the little nurse who delivered the blanket sat back, another little nurse on duty poked her anxiously and asked, "Xiao Yan, how is it? What did he tell you? Is it time to share our wedding candy?" "Damn it," the nurse called Xiao Yan gave him a glance, "I just gave him the chair and blanket so that he wouldn't stare at me." "Where are you going?" "Really? Then why is your face so red?" "It's hot," Xiao Yan said while fanning his hands. "It's already June, it's too hot." "Jiangming, aren't you hot?" "Well, you don't wear much, I wear too much." "No, I need to wear less tomorrow a bit." Jiangming interrupted her, "Okay. Don't pretend here, why are you making excuses? People only make excuses for themselves when they have a guilty conscience. What are you hot?" While talking, I took her hand to try. "It's cold, and what's the point of being hot? I'm wearing a single shirt and I'm wearing too much. I'm wearing autumn clothes inside, so I won't tell a lie. Isn't it because I'm afraid that you will think too much that I can lie?" Xiao Yan couldn't help but lower his voice again. "Are you sure he is their son? He called them father and mother, is that still false? Are you sure the daughter in bed one is Director Jing's girlfriend? If it wasn't for Director Jing's girlfriend, would he let the family members of the first bed go to his rest room to rest? Can you be so nervous about the operation of the first bed? When did you see Director Jing have such a minor operation?" "That's right," Xiao Yan nodded. "If that's the case, rural ones are not unacceptable, right?" "Are you convincing me or yourself?" Jiangming pouted and lay on the nurse's table. "If it was me he was staring at, I wouldn't hesitate. With a little brother-in-law like Dr. Jing, still worried about the countryside not changing the city? Besides, he is a soldier. Judging by his age, he should be in his mid-20s, so he must have been transferred to the volunteer army. When the time comes, the Jing family will help out, so staying here will definitely not be a problem. You are the only daughter in your family. It might be difficult to find a man from the city to walk in the door. If you don't seize such a good opportunity, you will definitely regret it." Xiao Yan didn't say anything more, but judging by her expression, she just listened to Jiangming's words. She quietly raised her head to glance at Zhou Mikang, only to find that his back was already facing her. The chair she gave was placed at the door, and the blanket was still placed on the chair as it was. How could this man be like this? Xiao Yan bit her lip, her face became a little ugly. Jiangming glanced at her, and couldn't help but burst out laughing. "You idiot, if he really took your blanket and covered you, you should be angry. What does it mean for a man not to use women's things easily? Think about it." "Specialized," Xiao Yan's eyes lit up. Jiangming shrugged, "That's what you said. If you don't investigate, you don't have the right to speak. I won't give you such a guarantee. Xiao Yan poked her angrily. It's dead, it's obviously the topic you raised.